All right, Mason Copi, welcome back to the Steep Stuff podcast. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you? So happy to be back on.
I know, it's great, man. I feel like this was, as always, I genuinely enjoy our conversations, and I feel like this one was long overdue. Having talked to you before Worlds, and then you have an amazing performance there, and we didn't really get a chance to recap the summer or kind of talk about plans for 2026. So I'm really stoked to have you back on and have a conversation.
Yeah, no, I'm stoked as well. Like 2025 was really kind of like the dream year, like things just went so well throughout the season, and to cap it off with Worlds was really amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. What did that? I mean, like, obviously, we talked before Worlds, and it's obviously this huge honor to go represent your country and go perform over there. Like, looking back on it now, being a few months removed, like, is it like a dream? What were your what are emotions like? Like, are you like, oh my, are you hungry? What I'm trying to ask, I guess, is, are you hungry to go back and try and do this again? Because it's got to be hard for someone of your caliber to reach this like crazy high level, and then now it's like, oh shit, I got to go do this again. Like, here we go.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's like a lot of things. It was a dream event and really good performance, and like so many things about that race and that experience were special. So even from like going back before the race, like the really bonding with like my other team members on the classic team, both on the men's and women's side, like we did a training camp over the summer to get to know each other, and so I felt really close going in, like knowing everyone, and that just made me really want to compete like for the team. Like it felt like an actual team. Um, and so got to like go out to Spain, enjoy being like around everyone. Everyone was so like stoked together, and like then the race just like went really well. Um, it was actually really cool. I ended up packing up with Taylor Sack for a lot of the race. We were kind of like right next to each other for a lot of times. I would fall back, he would start pushing, I'd try to match that push, and like we were just constantly pushing together and working together. And I haven't really experienced that since like college, right? Like running, like actually working together with a team member, like that hasn't been something I've experienced like in so long. And so to be able to do that on the world stage was awesome. And so yeah, I think that was awesome, and really stoked with the result, getting 14th in the world. Again, that was really exciting, and I was really happy with that result. But to kind of go to the second part of your question, yeah, I did finish feeling like I was really happy with things, but that I wanted more. Like I did go into that race wanting to get top 10, or if we're being honest, top 5. And I actually think there was a point in the race where I was top 6, and I was thinking to myself, I want to be on the podium. Like that was just my thinking. I always want to like be pushing myself all out. And I raced that way as well. Like you could argue it was poor pacing because I was just kind of hammering from the
You
gun.
go out
And
super aggressive.
I
I
went
mean, you
out
have
super.
to.
Oh, you have to. I mean, I don't know if anyone saw the video of the vertical race right at the start, like how it like narrowed down into a single file. People were crawling over each other. I remember talking to Cam Smith, and he said like someone grabbed him and he had to like brush off an arm, just
Throwing
full on,
elbows, dude.
like, yeah, throwing elbows. It was intense. And so I had that context before going into the classic race. So yeah, I went out very hot. Just gave myself space. I wasn't leading, so I didn't go out that crazy, but definitely like I know my general foot speed and road speed is kind of one of my strengths, and we started off with like a mile of of road, not super steep, nothing like that, maybe a slight incline. And so really use that to my advantage to get out. Um, and then again, like Taylor found me pretty quickly, and we just started kind of getting after it and like really trying to put ourselves up there just constantly throughout the race. And we had so many people from Team USA on the sidelines, because we were the final event of World, so that also made it special. But the whole time, like we had people like all from Team USA saying, "Oh, you're in this position, you're in this, oh, just a little bit more, and like you could get on podium." And like with that, like that would just like gave me so much stoke, you know, like I just want to keep pushing. And so I kept on going until basically wheels fell off. Like, I started like, it was a 2 loop course, and, first loop got out really well. Second loop I knew was going to be, a really big challenge. And, um, I ended up like again, like I was constantly throwing out moves. I threw down a move at the start of that like second climb back up on the second loop, and around halfway, like about a mile or two, legs just started cramping, going out on me and stuff like that. But again, like I think I knew that was a risk from the start. I was running at my absolute limit, and I knew that was a risk of running at my limit. Um, but it was a risk that I was like willing to take, you know, because like how many more opportunities like this am I going to get, right? Like Worlds only comes around every 2 years. And how long am I going to be at this competition level? Who knows? And so you have to take these opportunities as they come up. And I would rather like try to like race at my limit and push past my limits at this world's event than leave something on the table, right? And so I like when the cramps came, they weren't a surprise. It was frustrating, of course. Like I wish that like I had more in the legs, but started cramping up, and at that point, it's just like, all right, how do we manage this? How do we keep moving? Like my team still needs me. I still want us to place as best as possible. I still want to place as best as possible. So it was just sort of like, all right, grit through and keep on, keep climbing and keep pushing. And I won't lie, the last mile of the race, you come down this big descent, and then the last mile is this flat road.
Yeah,
And
that's probably
really, it
horrible.
should be a victory lap, right? Like everyone's down there, everyone's screaming, and that last mile, like really, I should be able to open up. I should be kicking. I should be closing. It felt like I was running through molasses. Like absolute everything was just tight, and I just was barely moving. Just like it felt like I had weights all over my body because like everything was cramping up. And um crossed the line again, ecstatic, but like my whole body just shaking from just like muscle fatigue, muscle failure. Everything's threatening to cramp on me, and I'm just like trying to stand upright. There's we end up like taking a picture afterwards once everyone finishes. And I remember like while we were standing there, like getting our pictures taken, I just felt like I was going to fall over the whole time. Um, and so, yeah, no. And I think like coming off of that, like feeling that way was actually really gratifying though, because yeah, I think like I proved to myself like I did send it like fully, and I did really give it my all. And so yeah, I was super happy with that. But of course, like yeah, I I want more. And I definitely want to like I that experience was so enjoyable. But I want to go and to the next worlds and improve my time, and I think I am capable of doing so. And so yeah, very excited for the future.
Yeah. I mean, dude, you're still so young. You have, I mean, 2027 will be here in the blink of an eye. So, yeah, there's a lot of opportunities still. And, yeah, I'm excited to see the next title run, more or less. I got to ask you this, and this is interesting to me. I really got to give hats off to all the competitors, but like Philemon to go win that race, I was very, not that I was surprised. It's just that I've seen Philemon be beaten on, and especially like in American races, I've seen Philemon be beaten. And so I don't know. I feel like for all of you guys, like in the front, like less than 1% of like getting just that much better, like just having a little bit of the better day. And I think you're right there, dude. Like it's so close.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's why I took the risk. That's why I took the gamble. Like, again, like, I, it's that sort of thing of like, okay, on a good day, I know I can be up there and I know I can be competing with these guys. And to a certain extent, when you're competing at a world's event, you need to have that belief. You need to have that understand, like that belief in yourself, or you're never going to put yourself in it, and you might get like left in the dust, like even from the start, and you just won't be able to like navigate through the field. So to a certain extent, it does require like this certain like leap of faith. And that's the fun thing about racing in general, anyways. Like, right? Like it's always this like this leap, like seeing like, okay, what's gonna happen? And that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it exciting. And particularly for like sub ultra running, I think that's a really cool thing. Is because like it is so competitive, and it is so much like, okay, who's having it, who's feeling good today, and all that. And so it makes for a very dynamic race. It makes for a very exciting race. You don't know what's going to happen. There's no like really runaway favorites. And um even then, if you have a favorite, they can get beat.
Yeah.
And
Oh
so
yeah.
I think it makes it really exciting and fun.
Do you feel like, I mean, my big takeaway after this, obviously I was not there. Obviously, like I was viewing this as a fan, but I just felt like you guys put some serious respect, because the Mountain Classic is generally a lot of times it's dominated by the African countries, right? Or Spain will be in the mix, Italy will be in the mix, but it's been a long time since the Americans on the Mountain Classic, at least on the men's side, um, get I feel like you guys really put some respect on that side of the sport for the Americans, and you guys just brought a squad this year. I mean, it was a good group of gentlemen that went over there to compete, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were the fourth team in the world, and just off the podium, just by a few spots. And I am like incredibly stoked with the team that we sent, and incredibly proud that I was able to be a part of it. Like, and I think the progress that the team has been making has been really awesome, and especially to like show up on the course that it was. Like, it was a course that really rewarded fast runners, and it definitely had technical bits to it. I wouldn't say it was like non-tech, like super non-technical. But it was definitely like it rewarded speed, especially with that start being on roads and the end being on roads, and like it not being like the craziest rocky thing in the world. But to show like, okay, we have the fitness, we have the capability. um, I think that is really exciting. And I think another exciting thing with that is that the US team, like still is like a lot of young guys on the team. And so we have this opportunity to continue to progress. And of course, the team was awesome and the team was really good. But another thing with that too is like, if you look at like last year's US Mountain Champs, that was
Oh yeah.
also a really deep field feeding in and like kind of creating this team. So like the US like sub ultra running space is really really taking off, and I'm really excited to see the future of that, and to get to be a part of that.
Yeah. Oh my god, dude, and you're right in the mix right now. I mean, and poised, along with yourself, with Cam, with Taylor, David, like there's you guys are all poised to really be the leaders of this in the next few years, which is and really right now. I mean, you guys are the guys right now. And as we continue to roll into 2026 and 2027, I mean, with that next build up to South Africa and Cape Town, like, you guys will be the standard until others. And it's kind of crazy too, like, yeah, Christian competed in the vertical, like, there's a world where Christian's also on the team, there's a world where Danny
Yeah,
Kurtz is on the team,
yeah,
like the guys that didn't even make the team are absolute killers too. So it's
yeah,
the depth is nuts in the sport. It's kind of crazy, man.
yeah. And again, like I think that depth really really helps, right? Like that's pushing us. Like that's pushing each and every one of us, like both the people who made the team and like the people just off the team. Like we're all pushing each other. We're constantly competing against each other at the big US races. Shoot, even at like Broken Arrow last year in the 23K, it was like again, it was Taylor, Cam, and I packed up, like pushing each other like as hard as we could. And um it has really made for a cool environment of like where we're all like pushing each other to be our best. And I'm seeing what Taylor did at the Golden Trail Series. I'm seeing Cam make the Olympics. I'm seeing like Christian Allen throw down insane CIM marathon time. I'm seeing all these guys and I'm like, gosh, that's what I need to compete with. That's what I need to be able to be doing. And I know I can do that. Like they're doing it and so can I. And so I see all this stuff and it just like inspires me. It pushes me to be a better athlete. And it's just so exciting that like this is where it's at. It also helps that all these guys are amazing and they're just super nice and I just enjoy them all.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool where it's like I feel like it can be said that we're rivals and like of course I want to beat all those guys. Like I'd be lying if I wasn't saying or wasn't thinking that. And but at the same time, I want to see those guys succeed so much. Like I
Yeah.
want to see them do their best. And I want us to be like pushing each other to be our best. And I know like they have like the same thinking about me and how we talk and they're rooting for me, I'm rooting for them. And so yeah, it's just like this really cool environment that's like one, like we're all pushing each other, but also it's just in a very positive way, in a very sustainable way, which again makes me really excited for our potential as a team.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, it's to that and like to piggyback off of that, it's I think the best days are still ahead. I mean, and
Yeah.
it's not even close. Like I think there is potential. You get all of these guys on good days. I mean, dude, there's gold medals in the future at Worlds. Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna be fun because I think the African nations are starting to figure it out too on the trail side, and I think the
Hmm.
Americans are really starting to figure it out. And I think it's going to create some like really interesting matchups and dynamics across a lot of the racing series over the next few years leading into Worlds. Like I think there's going to be I know Andy put up something. I think he was talking about it was like cross country worlds from like last week and talking about like how those countries are starting to figure it out. And man, it's going to be the rivalries are going to be nuts in the next few years. And it's just going to yeah, we got the dream team coming. I think it's going to have. And then dude, like on the women's side, like Lauren
Oh my
Gregory,
gosh.
Anna Gibson, like we don't even know how good Anna is at this point. Like,
Yeah.
you know, also an Olympian. Like, it's
Yeah.
nuts how much talent is in the sport now.
Yeah, and everyone on like the women's like sub ultra teams like from the vertical and the classic like talk about dream teams there as
Yeah.
well. Like just the depth on that on the women's side as well is just amazing. And again, like I can't like speak fully because like of course I wasn't on the women's team, but just like we were like training like we did the training camp together with the men's and women's team and just like seeing them interact and it seems very similar where it's like so like again like I think it's so cool that we have a group of people so competitive with each other, but also so uplifting with each other and so
Oh yeah.
supportive of each other, especially like coming from my background in like track and field and like college. Like, you know, like if you saw someone from a rival team or like a rival place, like that, you don't want them to succeed. You don't want them to succeed at all. Like, they're like, you want to crush them and that's it. I hope that they get sick that day and like can't show up and like stuff like that. But like it's so cool that in our sport and with the people competing right now, that's just not a thing, at least as I perceive,
Yeah.
and how I'm like talking to people and how people are talking to me. And I think that's going to be one of our secret weapons going forward is that, again, we're like, it's the quote, iron sharpens iron. to some extent, but also to some extent, like we're all helping each other. Like we're
Yeah.
not just like beating each other down, wishing for each other's downfalls. Like we're getting inspired by each other and like helping each other. And I think that's gonna really pay off in the long term.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's the highest ideals of competition. It's the best aspects. And dude, everybody in the sport's so like
Oh
you don't have a bad egg. Like
yeah,
everybody's really freaking cool, and they're all super
yeah, no,
kind and like you said, supportive. And yeah, it's gonna filter in over the next few years. And like real, like none of you guys are really like even mid 30s yet. Everybody's like really young. So yeah, it's gonna be fun to watch and see. I want to pivot a little bit and talk to you about I mean, obviously your season, dude. Like, if it wasn't like you were a few seconds away from from being the U.S. mountain running champion, but outside of that, dude, like, you probably were the most dominant mountain classic. You are the most dominant mountain classic athlete in the country this year. You won every Cirque Series race you touched. You won Kendall. You were right there in Broken Arrow, which was a little bit longer of a race. You can't really call that a classic. Um, would you say these races and that level of competition adequately prepared you to go over and compete?
yeah, no, definitely. Like I think it did. Like again, like I was constantly, and that was something I was thinking about while I was designing my schedule, right? Like I wanted to like be pushing myself in these short, sub ultra or like these classic style mountain races, especially with the Cirque series, just like super steep up, super steep down, and being very intentional about working on things like I feel have been gaps in my abilities in the past. So like in the past, I would say like things that I didn't consider myself super strong at was like technical slash like descending. Like I was getting caught on descents. And this year, like I really committed to like figuring that out and working on that. And part of that was a little bit through training and practicing that, but part of that was also through racing and doing hard events and like really seeing what I can do if like I open up on the downhills. And I was kind of getting to getting to a point where like I was putting down some like kind of insane times when I was closing out races, at least for like for what I was like thought was possible for myself. Like there would be races where I'm closing in like a sub 4:15 mile or like a 4:10 mile, which is crazy to me like
Dude,
to
it's
think
so
about. Like
fast. Holy shit.
still like now for me to like even look at that like result and like to like when I finish I'd be like, whoa, that was nuts. Like just to be able to do that. And that gave me so much confidence going into worlds. Like okay, I know that I if it, things get more technical than I expected, I'm going to be okay. I know I can climb with the best. I know I can descend with the best. I know I have flat foot speed. It got to the point where the biggest thing I was actually nervous about before Worlds was a bunch of people were getting stung by bees and wasps, and I'm mildly allergic, and so that was the biggest thing I was worried about. I was like, oh, what if I get stung? That's the one thing I haven't prepared for. Um, and so like all leading up, like I really feel like the season was good for preparing me for Worlds.
I love it. I love it. It's all right. So you kind of addressed like some of the things. Like it was really interesting to me to see this progression because I got to meet 2024 you and also got to hang out with 2025 you and just seeing this progression into this like dude, you went from being really really good to like world class good. And it was just really cool to see you put the pieces together and just like have it figured out. Can you talk a little bit about like figuring out the downhill stuff? I know you kind of just went into it a little bit, but maybe emphasize on that as well as your training. Like it was like you're just so consistent on like I follow your Strava and your training is so consistent. You're putting in, you know, nice solid blocks of just not sexy workouts, but like just really but just consistent training and time on the bike. Like your base builds are insane. Maybe talk about some of the things that you filled the gaps with and started to figure it out. And the only reason I asked this too is because I just had Grayson Murphy on yesterday, and she's like the mountain classic goat, right, on the
Yeah.
female side. And I asked her to elaborate, like, what did you figure out about the mountain classic that you just have you just became almost unbeatable. And like, dude, this season, I watched you at Targi like dismantle the entire field. I mean, a fresh Joe Demore, a fresh Jackson. And I saw you before, and you're like, dude, I'm pooped. I'm pretty tired. Like, especially from driving, going from Alta back to Colorado, then back out to Targi. That's a really tough 2 weeks. So maybe elaborate on that and how you were able to put that all together.
Yeah, so it's been a process like figuring things out. Like the downhill has been like this element that I really had to kind of like really tinker and try to figure out. And as a coach, like this is something I've always struggled with. Like athletes come to me and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm not very good at downhills." And for the longest time, I'm like, I don't know how to coach that, right? Like that's not in a training book. Like that's not this physiological thing, right? It's not something like you can do necessarily like this super structured like VO2 max downhill, whatever thing. And so it took me a while to kind of figure out how I want to approach it. And basically what I ended up doing is kind of thinking about it as like again through the lens of a coach and through the lens of like training and like okay what are the limiters and how do I train those limiters? How do I improve those limiters? So on a downhill, like aerobic isn't the limiter. And that's what most of training theory focuses on. So got to toss that out the window. That doesn't really matter. Other things that matter are like, okay, eccentric contractions. I was already training eccentric contractions. I was already doing big vert runs and all that sort of stuff. So I kind of have that down. I can keep working on that, but like that's not necessarily this big limiter. Um, Next thing I started thinking about was like, okay, well, maybe it's like this neuromuscular thing. Maybe it's a form thing. Like maybe I just need to unlock this form thing. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. That's something I can work on. Another thing that occurred to me is like, okay, maybe this is a fear thing. Like, am I just not confident to run on the downhills? Especially talking to some of my athletes that had it built up in their heads a little bit more. Whereas like, okay, I'm seeing a fear response here. And it's like, okay, so I started looking at like, okay, how do you work through phobias? How do you start working through like a fear response? And how do you get past that? And so, especially with the fear response thing, like a big thing is just like exposure therapy and just like repeating things and stuff like that. But the key thing with that is like if you have too big of an exposure, you're going to freak out and you're going to have like an opposite effect. Now you can't do anything. So it's about finding that happy threshold, that happy medium of like, okay, this is putting me on edge, but I can handle this. Like I'm a little bit out of my comfort zone, but not completely out of my depth. And so yeah, I started looking into doing that. Like so I would go and I'd run repeats of like technical trails that made me uncomfortable. I didn't love them, but I wasn't hitting the full on panic button. And so I started doing those and I would just repeat them. They're super boring. But that was kind of the point, right? I made the scary boring because I would just do like laps of this one like technical section and I would do it easy. I would do it as like one of my easy runs where like I don't really care about speed. I don't really care. Like I'm just trying to get like aerobic time on feet. And so I just repeat technical sections. And I'd learn the movements. I would try different form techniques. One of the form techniques that ended up really being helpful for me. This actually came from my coach David Roach. Was like run like a monster truck, and basically what that was like worry less about picking the perfect line and just like steamroll things. And as long as your shoes have good grip, and like this will be different in different trail areas. Like for instance, like if you're in the if you're in the Northeast, rocks will be a lot more slick, so don't trust those. But if you're out west, rocks actually are probably one of the better traction surfaces because everything else is kind of like this like sandy, like loose stuff that you can slide out on. So target the rocks. But again, like I was practicing on different types of trails and I was learning how the trails worked and figuring out where to place my foot and all those things. And it was kind of this repetition thing. So my body, one, learned the form, and two, like I just exposed myself to it, and then match that up with doing races, and where I got to practice those things even further. Like the Cirque Series is actually, I think, a great training grounds for this, because their races have such a variety of terrains. Like they have really technical sections that are really going to push you, but they don't last the entire race. So then you'll get like a more or less technical section where, okay, now you're just practicing opening it up. And so that was one area where like I really got to practice with races. And that's part of the reason why I race so much in general. Like I think I probably race more than your average. Um, athlete, because like I'm also using those races as like training stimuli, and utilizing that. So I'd say that's how I approach the downhills, and training that element and really figuring that out. For the uphills and stuff, that's aerobic. Like that's aerobic power. That's like taking in your lactate threshold, and all that sort of stuff. And so to train for that, it's just like you said, like it's consistency. It's I don't think I probably have like the sexiest like Strava out there. The big thing that I'm trying to do is I'm just like trying to stack week after week after week. And what that ends up looking like is like a lot of threshold work on the track, where I'm working on that foot speed. I'm just like get my body really good at shoveling lactate, and all that good stuff. Um, and then I'm doing a lot of volume on the bike so I don't break down mechanically. And I think that has really worked well for me in terms of keeping me healthy while also letting my aerobic system really progress. Um, and that consistency has like really helped me out like on the climb. So I think like tackling those two things has really been huge.
It's amazing. I got to ask you this: as far as peaking goes, did you how were you able to do that in your blocks? Like, did you? I would assume you peaked for Sunapee, and then I would assume you peaked for Worlds. Is that how you did it? And then everything else was just kind of a workout for you. How did you? Because you did race a lot of races this year. Like, how
Yeah.
did you put all that together?
Yeah. So, I would say like, yes, I was peaking for Sunapee, and I was peaking for Worlds to to a certain extent, but a lot of it was still just like coming off of the summer. But I guess to back it up, like before Sunapee, I was also putting in pretty big aerobic volume.
Cool.
I was doing a lot more 20-mile long runs. Again, I had added in the bikes, so I was getting like extra volume there. So we're talking like stacking multiple like I don't know, like right around like 15-hour training weeks, sometimes getting up into like the 18-hour range, like at the highest high. Um, and so like stacking like these really big long weeks, but again, like even though that sounds like a lot, I was only doing like, I don't know, 50 to 60 miles per week because so much of it was on the bike.
Yeah.
Um, and so I built up this giant aerobic base over the winter and spring. Then tapered off a little bit in terms of volume going into Sunapee, race Sunapee. Um, and then over the summer, it was just kind of, yeah, the races themselves did serve like workouts. I would taper for them to a certain extent. Definitely going into them a little bit easier. Um, and then I would still run them pretty hard. Like I'm not gonna say like I was doing those as cakewalks. Like I'm not that impressive of an athlete. Like
I was about to
that
say,
that
dude. Oh my god.
that wasn't me jogging like that. Like I was going really hard with those, but like it just required a little tweak of training. So like instead of um yeah, so I'd have to back off running mileage that week, a little bit of volume. A lot of times at the races, I would try to do a little bit of extra long cool downs if I was feeling good, just to get like the long run stimulus in. And then the following day after the race, I would do these big long bikes. Um, and I do them super easy because mechanically I'm beat up, but on the
Okay.
bike it's so concentric that like that pound, like I'm not dealing with that pounding, so I can fit a little bit more aerobic work. And so I just get on the bike, pedal around super easy. Um, and that's kind of how I balanced it. So it wasn't like these big tapers for those ones. And so I was training through those. Um, but I think really because of the biking and using that strategically and taking rest days, like I would take complete rest days, extra rest days here and there if I ever was feeling extra fatigue. I think I was just able to find a balance to be able to like, okay, really perform well at these races, and maintain fitness.
I mean, I would say, dude, like you've got the blueprint. Like it's so obvious that like it's you got it. So you don't have to change anything for early 2026, which is kind of nice when you got the system down. I'm a big system guy. Like once the system's kind of in place, like it's nice because then you can just like you're doing now. You're just building and building, building. You have your consistency and you're enacted. Do you do a lot of like extra stuff? Like, do you ever do? I was just talking to Michelino about this yesterday, and because there's a lot of people that like you see this on social media now where everybody's all into the extra stuff, the sauna, the cold plunge, the breath work, there's this and that. Do you subscribe to any of that stuff? Like are you like particularly like resolute, or are you like how do you play that game?
Yeah, so yes and no. I I like to joke that like my favorite recovery tool is peanut butter. Like if I just like am feeling a little beat up, just have a little like extra scoop of peanut butter and like here and there. Because I do feel like fueling is one of like the biggest things is just like making sure you're getting enough. But like in terms of like all like small stuff, like not really. Like I'm not really into the sauna. In my perspective is I'd rather get more time in on the bike than
Yep.
than the sauna. But again, like I don't really train or I'm not really targeting hot races. Part of my strategy is I just don't target doing hot races because I just don't enjoy it. So I'm not really doing that. And so I think a big thing for me too is like the enjoyment side of things. Like I train, like I do this training partially because it works, but also partially because I just really enjoy it. Like I love the training that I do. I'm excited to get out the door. I love the biking. I love the running. Like all these things are fun to me. So they're like, it's hard training, but like I enjoy it all. Like so it's easy for me to get out the door. The little stuff, it's a bit harder for me to do. Like I'm not like sitting here like, yeah, can't wait to sauna. Sick. Like and so I the little things aren't as like exciting for me or as like attractive to me. That doesn't mean I don't think they can like be beneficial or like or I don't think that people like shouldn't be doing them or anything like that. It's just for me, it isn't something I'm really excited about. One of the things that I do find really important and do really prioritize is like some strength work. So it's pretty minimal dose. Like I'm not doing any crazy routines and I'm not lifting anything heavy, but like I'm doing some squats, RDLs. I do a lot of prehab work in terms of hip and glute activation, taking care of my lower legs, calves, and soleus. So I'm targeting all those things. And small plug here, but if anyone wants to learn what those are, like you can find them on my website, like
Oh, I'll put it in the show
hellotorunning.com.
notes. Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
go for it.
Okay.
But I have all my routines online. But basically, it's just like a lot of stuff where it's just injury prevention through strength work, and I really prioritize that. But smaller things where I see them more as like marginal gains. I don't invest a lot of time into that.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Dude, hips. It's so interesting. I have this talk with everybody. I'm like a big hip guy. Just because I feel
Yeah,
like hip strength is so like underrated and
yeah,
so important. What are you doing for the hips?
yeah. So the hips are a tricky one, like especially hip flexor. So I do some kind of like knee drive things, either with a band or with a weight. Doing like dead bugs and stuff. That's more activation. Um, but uh I'll do a little like stuff like that. So nothing crazy again, just trying to activate the area, trying to get them a little bit stronger. The hip ones are kind of tricky. So I have a buddy who's a PT, and like this is something we've been talking about for a long time. Like, what is a good hip exercise that you can get in with minimal equipment? And like he just texted me like I think it was 2 days ago. He's like, I found one, and it's like him doing like a glute bridge and like lifting his leg, and like so these are the things I talk about with my friends. um,
Hey man, it's
but
important. It's important
yeah,
stuff.
it's super important. Like I think about with like the hip and like the glute activation. Like I think that's so important. Like, and I remember when like I was in college and I was coming off of an injury and I was told like for the umpteenth time that I wasn't recruiting my glutes, and I was given the exact same set of exercises from the PT that I was always given, and I'm like, why am I not just doing this all the time? And like once I realized that, I was like, yeah, I should just be doing this all the time. And so I started doing that. I have my athletes doing that. And again, it's like this small little thing that you can do. And like if like PTs are always on it, I feel like we should probably be on it too.
Exactly.
Um, and so yeah, that's one of the things I do.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's like my biggest fear is a torn labrum. Not that it like happens a ton in runners. Like technically, we all have like kind of small tears in our labrums.
Yeah.
But that said, still a fear.
Well, any injury is a fear, right? And like that
Yeah.
can get in the way of training, that can get in the way of like enjoying the process, right? Like so we want to do like these little things to protect ourselves from that, and so I do subscribe to like taking like doing like the strength work just since there is so much evidence behind it. It's just other things where I'm just like, I don't know if I'm gonna make time for it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You don't really know. Like, that's the thing. Like, yeah, there's some science out there with the sauna, but it's like, I don't know. It's the hemoglobin. Like, I don't know. There's a lot to it, but it's also like that type of. It can also dehydrate the shit out of you too, which I don't
Yeah.
think people like pay attention with. Which also leads to bigger issues with running down the line. So yeah, it's interesting. Um, let's talk 2026. I know you're on deck for Broken Arrow 23K. Um, what else is on the schedule? Where am I going to see you this summer?
Yeah, so I think you asked a really good question, like at the start of the podcast, where it's like, what's next? And that's what, like something I was thinking. So like, it's actually taken me a really long time to come out with like my 2026 schedule and come up with what I want to be doing, because it's like, okay, I want to push myself, and how do I level up? What is the next chapter? Like what I'm doing right now is really working, but like how do we progress it? How do we move it forward? And what new experiences can improve things? So things that I'm looking at. This one technically isn't a race, but I'm super excited for it. I'm gonna be doing my first pacing job at Black Canyon.
Nice.
So I'm super stoked about that. Like I get to live out my dream of being a domestique. And like I'm super stoked for that and get to learn about being an ultra pacer and like what you can be doing for another athlete, and kind of how to help them through those things. So super stoked for that. Then I'm going to be doing the Atlanta Half Marathon, which is
Sweet.
the USATF Half Marathon Road Champs. So going to be doing a bit of a speed block for that. Um, I'm also targeting Big Alta and Gorge.
Nice.
Again, starting off spring with some races I've never done before, and sounds like those will be competitive, hopefully. And so trying to get out to those. Also targeting doing my first Boston Marathon.
Oh,
Um,
all right. All right.
Thrown a bit of a curveball, but really excited for that one. I have a lot of athletes who that's their main goal. And so just to be able to understand what it's like to be at the Boston, learn all the logistics, and also get to push myself on the Boston course, I think will be really exciting. Um, Other things, I am looking at doing Sunapee, gotta do the US Mountain Champs.
Nice, nice.
And so super excited to see how much funding they've gotten, and how much like has been invested in the US Mountain Champs. And of course, I'll be trying to shoot for the WMRA like team, and making the US team for that event in the fall. Other bit of a curveball this year, I do think I'm going to be, well, I'm signed up for it, so I better be committed to doing it. I'm doing the Speed Goat 50K.
Nice. Okay.
I love that area of mountains, and one of the things that I feel like is a weak point for me. And again, like I'm constantly thinking through like what are my weak points? How do I improve that? Is muscular endurance. I feel like I've figured out the 1 hour events. Um, and those classic races like we were talking about, like I feel like I've really figured those out. And with this being a year where there is no world mountain champs, I have an opportunity to experiment, and I don't have to be locked in on those 1 hour events. So I'm going to be going to Speed Goat, trying to learn about muscular endurance, and
5 to 6 hour
um,
event. Have fun there.
yeah, exactly. It's going to be an experience, and we will see how that goes. But again, I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to, again, take care of things that I haven't quite mastered yet, and things that I still need to learn about. Um, after Speed Go, of course, there's WMRA. And then also big target is CIM in
Okay.
December, going after that Olympic trials qualifier. I feel like gotta target that.
Nice.
Again, we talked about Christian, and I've talked about in previous podcasts where I feel like he keeps setting the bar for what sub ultra speed is, and I'm I'm not close to him, but I have to keep on trying to respond as close as I can. Because again, that's the competition level. That's he's setting the bar, and I need to do my best to try to compete with that, and try to keep up with that. Um, Outside of that, I'm sure I'm going to throw in a lot more races. Those are just like the for sures that I'm kind of like thinking about right now. Of course, I'm going to be coming back to Cirque Series events, and all that, and fitting in as much as I can. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Dude, what a season. I am so looking forward to this. I'm so happy you chose Speed Goat too, because I think it's a really, I think this is a good year for you, especially coming off the year that you had, like you said, to experiment, do new things, try new things, find success in different things. Because I mean, dude, I don't know about you, but like I'm confident for you. So I can't imagine like what your confidence level is. It's probably I would be so confident coming off that season. And it's also a really good opportunity for you to continue to build your name, for people to, this is something I've been talking about on the podcast a lot as far as from the media side. How do we continue to turn athletes like yourself and others into stars so people know who you are, so the audience knows who you are, so brands know who you are? And I think things like Gorge, things like the Big Alta, Speedo, a lot of these particular events will have more eyeballs on them. And I think it's really good for your star power and your brand as an athlete, as you know, for more people to get to learn who you are.
Yeah, no, I think that's super cool. And like I do have a lot of confidence going in this. Another thing though that I am partially thinking about is like, yeah, getting out of my comfort zone and getting my butt kicked a little bit. I think that's also beneficial. Like this is a good year to get my butt kicked, and like try some hard things, and experiment with that, and like put myself out there. Again, like that's all part of the process, and like a part of the fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very curious to see if you could nail Speed Goat the first time. The reason is because like some people do and some people don't. And
Yeah,
it's like a very mixed bag. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't know. It's
who knows?
the unknown. Well, that's the thing. In a 1 hour race, you already kind of know like that comes, a lot of that comes down to fitness. There is some skill to it, but I think a lot of it comes down to fitness. And you know, that's kind of a Rubik's cube that you've had figured out. So there's not as many unknowns. It's either you win the race or you lose the race. Whereas with some of these longer things, there's a lot of things that like, yeah, you haven't really tried out. Because a marathon, I mean, you're running under 2:30 in the marathon. That's not a very long race, you know. Like I mean, obviously it's hard, But like
Yeah.
some of these 5 hour events, 6 hour, potentially 6 hour events, I'd say five, probably five, a little higher than five for you, probably for speed. What's the course record there? I think it's
I
like
think it was like the
it's
course record's either
under five.
504 or
Yeah, yeah.
505.
So somewhere between
Um,
5 and 6, right? So like probably low
yeah,
under 530, somewhere in that range, I
yeah,
would guess. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cool things to learn and figure out about yourself, and plus the nutrition side, like that's different. You know, what to
yeah,
eat.
right? Like hydration? I don't know. I mean, I objectively like know from like coaching like athletes and understanding that, but like again, it's a completely different experience for me. And
Yeah,
so yeah, really excited to like approach that and really learn from that experience.
it's exciting. Very exciting. All right, last topic I want to get to is free agency and kind of where you're at with that right now. I've told you this a million times as your friend. I feel like I tell you this every time I see you. I think it's criminal that like you do not have a sponsor yet. I feel like you are criminally underrated as an athlete. I know you're going through this right now, trying to figure out the sponsorship, trying to navigate that world. Maybe talk about that a little bit about your free agency, where you're at with that, and yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, sponsorship stuff has been tricky this year, if I'm being honest. Like I think I went it like I was coming off of this year, especially after Sunapee and that performance that I had there. I was very proud of that. And after getting like second in the US and only being off of first by like a handful of seconds, I was like, oh, I'm I'm a shoo-in. And like even like looking at the top 10 at the US Mountain Champs, like I was one of the few people who wasn't sponsored, and I was second, and like that close to first. I'm like, oh well, like I'm at that caliber. Like it's time. It's gonna happen. And like this has been something I've been thinking about since like I started doing the sport. And I have learned this year that it's not that simple. Like I think like I thought it was this simple thing, especially like coming off of like my background as like a D1 athlete and knowing people who've gotten track and road sponsorships where it's like, okay, if you make a US Worlds team, you're shooing. Like if you're an All-American, like all these things, it's like, okay, that's sponsorship material. There's questions on how much you're gonna get and stuff like that, but you are sponsorship material. And so I was like, okay, easy. Um, but then I started figuring out, man, the process is complicated. And so much of it falls on the athlete. There are starting to be some agents in the space, but a lot of it does fall on the athlete to be reaching out to companies, to be finding contacts, to be reaching out to the agents, and so much of that. And I was trying my best to reach out to people, and people weren't biting, and that's like something else that I learned is like timing is a big thing. And I think like a few years ago, we saw like a lot of brands investing a lot, especially in the sub ultra space, and sponsoring a lot of people, and like a lot of new athletes is another key there. They were sponsoring a lot of up and coming athletes and stuff
Yep.
like that, and I wasn't quite in on their radar at that point, so I kind of missed the boat. And now that I'm at that point, a lot of people are telling me, oh, okay, rosters are full. We don't have the budget right now. It's like any job, right? Like you can be super qualified for a job, but if like people aren't accepting positions, it's like, well, that's tough. And so something that I've really been trying to work on is like seeking validation through the sponsorship. Because I
Yep.
think, especially like when I first started out, like that's what I needed in order to be validated. I wanted to be a professional, like a professional trail runner. I wanted to have that contract. And that was going to be the thing that said, hey, I've made it. Um, and this year has been weird, right? Like I had the dream year. I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. I did the things, and I still didn't get that. And so I think like it has been a struggle, right? Like it has been a struggle of being like, okay, like am I good enough and stuff like that. And that is like a thing. It's like these brands are betting on these other athletes. They're not betting on me.
Yep.
And
Fair.
that's kind of a weird position to be in. And so I think I've had to do a lot of work to say, be more internally motivated, more internally validated of like, you know what? No, I am proud of my season. I'm proud of what I accomplished. I know I can compete with these all these athletes who are sponsored. And if I show up to a race with like anyone who's sponsored, I don't care. I'm going to compete with you and I know about my capabilities. And that's something that I've had to work on. And honestly, I'm really like happy that I have gotten that opportunity and like I've been able to do that. That's not to say that I don't want to be sponsored. Um, there's a lot of like, of course, like with anything, there's pros and cons of being sponsored. Like, like a sponsorship would be super helpful from a travel standpoint. Like I can't be doing these big races out in Europe because I just can't afford to fly myself out to Europe all the time.
Yeah.
And like I just can't afford that. And I can't afford to be at every single race. Like a race that's super exciting this year that I'm just not going to have the travel budget to get out to is the beast at like Big Creek, like right, like that's a sky running series. That's so fun, but I can't budget it in.
Yeah.
And that's actually why I chose Speed Goat instead, was because I can drive to Speed Goat and I can camp out at Speed Goat. And like, so these are the decisions I have to make as an unsponsored athlete. So there is a limitation there. And of course, like finances are a thing. And it would be nice to be like making some money on the side here. Um, and another thing, again, that validation is kind of nice. That is a pro of having a sponsor. Like you have a team that believes in you. You have other teammates on your brand who believe in you and all that stuff. But there's also a cons to sponsorships, right? Like, um, you get less flexibility in the races you get to pick. Your sponsors are saying like, I want you going to this race and I want you going to that. And so I get to set my schedule. I get to pick whatever I want. Of course, I'm limited by travel, but outside of that, I get to pick whatever event I want to do. I'm going to be doing. Um, there's also like expectations with having a sponsor, and I'm really thankful of that. Of like, well, no one's breathing down my neck about how I perform. Like it's completely up to me, and I'm completely like self motivated with that, and so I'm thankful of that. Also thankful that I don't have to run in any bad gear. Like I don't have to be in any bad shoes. If you see me in like a product or something, chances are I like it because I'm picking it out and buying it with my own money, and I'm not using something I don't believe in. Um, so that's another benefit that at least I tell myself I get to do. Again, there's a lot of great products from all these companies, and I know a lot of pro athletes like really like believe in their products. So that last one was more of a joke. Um,
You
but
oh sorry.
yeah, I think those are the big things. So it's just like balancing that like validation versus internal validation thing.
Yeah. No, dude, I think you're in such a good headspace. One of the things I was going to say, and I think you hit on something really important there, is like just from the support level. Like every time I've seen you at a race, you're usually like camping, dude. And it's like, how much nicer would it be to be able to stay in an Airbnb or a hotel and get a shower the day before, like the morning of the race? I'm not saying you don't shower. I don't know, but I mean, I've seen you like, I think I saw you the morning before Targi. I think we were just both finishing our warm up runs. Um, and I actually I think you were coming out of the canyon from camping, and yeah, I mean, not camping's not great, but like for an athlete of your level, it would be a heck of a lot nicer to be cooking a nice dinner in an Airbnb or a hotel and just chilling the night before a race, and it's just a little bit of a help to get you a little more ready for the event that you're about to do, and then you still win anyway, which is great, but like still, I think those things help a lot and go the extra distance. And there's a lot of perks too with the teams. Like Adidas and some of the Hoka and some of the other brands. Like, dude, like some of the things they're doing in Chamonix for like these UTMB weeks are nuts. Like you get like a team house, team physio. They're taking photos for you. It's kind of wild. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think you're in a good headspace for it.
Yeah, no, there's definitely nice things. And like, yeah, I am dirt bagging it at all the races. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like it. Like,
Do
it
you?
is kind of
Okay.
fun where like I love camping. I think it's fun. It's also kind of fun to show up at races and be like, all right, I camped the night before and I'm still gonna like show up and I'm gonna compete. And I think that's part of the fun and like feels very trail runner-esque, you know? Like
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like I'm living like the ideal. And so like again, I'm having fun with it. Of course, like more help would be awesome to do more things, do bigger things. Um, but yeah, no. So again, like it's that balance of like it would be nice, but I'm also happy where I am.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm going to like keep racing. I'm going to keep showing up. I'm going to keep betting on myself. And like with or without a sponsor, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to compete at the highest level that I possibly can.
I love it. I love it. I think it's a good place to put a pin in it for the next one. Mason Copi, I'm such a fan, dude. I can't wait to see what you do this summer. Obviously, we'll talk before then. Thank you so much for coming on, and I think this was a good discussion. Damn proud of this one.
Yeah, I'm super stoked. Thank you so much for having me on.
Of
Always,
course.
always a pleasure.
Yeah, microphone's always yours, man. Appreciate you.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah. All right, dude. That was perfect. I think that